very sad at the result we've achieved, and very sad at those colleagues that lost their seats in the election, and very sad for many people in this country who will now have a government that is continuing policies of austerity, and many of the poorest communities, I think, will suffer very badly from the economic strategy that I suspect the Prime Minister will take forward. But also, I have pride in our manifesto that we put forward, and all the policies we put forward, which actually had huge public support on issues of universal credit, the green industrial revolution, and investment for the future. But this election was taken over ultimately by Brexit, and we as a party represent people who both voted Remain and Leave, and my whole strategy was to reach out beyond the Brexit divide to try and bring people together, because ultimately the country has to come together.
So what went wrong?
Well, those in Leave areas, in some numbers, voted for Brexit or Conservative candidates, which meant that we lost a number of seats and we didn't make the gains that I'd hoped we could have done, particularly in the Midlands and Yorkshire in the north.
I was listening to some callers to RBC this morning and speaking to people who are knocking on doorsteps, and the same from the Shadow Health Secretary before the election, saying the same thing, that actually you're part of the problem. Is now time to accept that perhaps your leadership may have contributed to this result?
Well, I've done everything I could to lead this party, done everything I could to develop its policies, and since I became leader, the membership has more than doubled, and the party has developed a very serious, radical, yes, but serious and fully costed manifesto. And I've received more personal abuse than any other leader has ever received by a great deal of the media. Now, that happens all the time. I will talk to our national executive about what we do in the future. I called for last night a period of reflection in the party, and obviously the ruling body of the party, our national executive, will decide what process we follow then for the election of a successor to me. But I am quite prepared, and I was elected to do so, to lead the party until that takes place.
That some of those voters mentioned things like sympathising with the IRA, anti-Semitism, failing to deal with it, making a party that's too London-centric, and ultimately being too left-wing. Again, do you not accept that those are some of the things that have attached themselves to you that have made you less electable?
Is ending universal credit and paying the WASPy women and having a green industrial revolution too left-wing? They are huge issues that face our country, and I think our manifesto did face up to all of that. Of the attacks that have been made on me, I have dealt with the issues that have been raised. I inherited a system that didn't work in the Labour Party on anti-Semitism. I introduced the rule changes necessary to deal with it, and they're in operation. But I think anti-Semitism is an absolute evil curse within our society, and I would always condemn it, and always do, and always will.
Once again, the left, when Labour's gone further to the left, as it did under Michael Foot, they've lost badly, the Conservatives. Do you think that Corbynism is dead?
It's not Corbynism. There is no such thing as Corbynism. There is socialism, there is social justice, there are radical manifestos, all of which are there.
But are they also unelectable?
No, I don't think they are unelectable at all. I think the issue that dominated this election ultimately was Brexit. Our policies, I've named some, and there are many others I could name, were actually all of them individually very popular. There was no huge debate or disagreement in the party about any of the policies in our manifesto. The issue was, ultimately, the Prime Minister said he's going to get Brexit sorted. It is, how should I put it, a mirage of nonsense, because he knows perfectly well that he's either got to get an agreement with the European Union, or he's going to spend 7 years negotiating with the United States, and I'm worried about the effect on our manufacturing industry and our trading position in that period.
You don't think a more centrist David Miliband kind of character could have done better, could have beaten Boris Johnson?
I don't think the result would have been any different, because we have to make an appeal to people who voted both Leave and Remain. And we, appealed to all on a manifesto which would bring about more social justice in this country. And I am proud of the campaign that we fought, the effort that I put into that campaign, and the effort that hundreds of thousands of people did who saw in what we were saying, particularly a lot of young people, saw in what we were saying some hope for themselves, some future where they wouldn't go into debt just because they wanted an education. Some
of your MPs have turned on you, as, or your candidates who didn't get elected. I'll just quote one prominent Labour Party figure, Alan Johnson, who summed up some of the feeling when he said, "I want momentum gone." He made it sound like it was a kind of parasite that had sucked the electability out of the party. Do you accept that momentum has been this kind of internal party within a party? And how do you feel about Alan Johnson asking for it to go?
Well, I don't agree with Alan Johnson on this, and there are many candidates who are not necessarily on the left of the party who were very grateful and very happy for the support that Momentum supporters gave them in the campaign. And Momentum is an organisation of lots of people, actually quite a wide range of political views. They see themselves as an activist base. They see themselves as people that are organising communities and community action in our society. I think that's actually a very healthy democratic development, and it's a different style of doing politics. But I think what we've shown over the past 4 years since I became leader, this growth in membership and this growth of community activism actually is healthy for politics and healthy for democracy. And I regret those kind of comments because I think they're very unfair.
Do you feel at all guilty that Boris Johnson's got another 5 years at number 10? Do you feel at all responsible and guilty for that?
I did everything I possibly could to win this election. I did everything I possibly could in order to bridge the divide between those that voted leave and those that voted remain. Because at the end of the day, they're going to live in a country where we're going to need that investment for the future. We're going to have, if this government stays in office, more homelessness, more divisions, and a bigger gap between the richest and the poorest. And so I did everything I could. Of course, I take responsibility for putting the manifesto forward, but I have to say the manifesto was universally supported throughout our party and throughout our movement. So, as I said in my own count result last night, we don't give up on the eternal hopes of a more decent society and the urgent demand to make our contribution for a sustainable world. And that's exactly what our manifesto, our Green Industrial Revolution, would have done.